What's going on, guys? Today I want to review the new Behemoth record, Opus Contra Natvram. Behemoth has become a pretty divisive band in the past couple years. I'd say probably around the time that The Satanist came out, I started noticing this really polarized opinion about Behemoth. I remember a time where liking Behemoth was kind of just taken for granted. Like if you liked death metal or black metal, for the most part, it was a safe assumption to say you enjoyed Behemoth's music. Now they've become a sort of, I don't know, really polarizing band, probably due in large part to Nurgle's increasingly bizarre antics, especially on social media. Luckily, the whole philosophy of separating art from artist can apply to situations like this too, that have nothing to do with politics. And it's just I may not like the guy, but I can still appreciate the art that he's helping create. So Behemoth has been a band long enough that you can kind of safely divide them into, distinct eras of music. You have the early stuff that was kind of like raw black metal, very inspired by what was coming out of the Scandinavian scene at the time. And then they found their death metal sound, which is where they found a lot more commercial success. And then you have the Satanist, which kind of marked a strange, almost return to form, but, obviously updated and polished, production, but a still definite just a black metal record. Then you have I Loved You at Your Darkest, which I did not really enjoy. I do not think that was a memorable record at all. I think the tracks in general just didn't have the same punch that you come to expect from Behemoth. They're exceptionally good songwriters in my opinion, so that record just kind of really let me down. They're memorable tracks, memorable moments, but by and large, I did not feel compelled to revisit that record. I don't think I've listened to it in over a year. So, I approached this record with a lot of trepidation, but what's cool is that I feel like on this record, they combined what they were doing on The Satanist with what they were trying to do on I Loved You at Your Darkest. And it's an interesting result. And unsurprisingly, I like this record less than The Satanist and more than I Loved You at Your Darkest. So it's definitely a step in the right direction in my opinion. And I would be fine with them continuing to, flesh out this sound and explore more what they're trying to do here. It's sort of just like a, not experimental, but I guess a sort of forward-thinking, almost progressive style of black and death metal, which isn't surprising. If you know Behemoth, you know that they're not afraid to take risks. And last record had children's choir on it. The Satanist had trumpets and weird sort of ambient tracks with samples and stuff. They're a very creative band, I guess, for lack of a better word. So this record's 10 tracks long, 45 minutes or so, and it's interesting because there are 9 real songs and then an intro track. And I'm kind of at the point where I don't care about intro tracks on metal records. Just, if you have a minute-long intro, just stick it on the first song. I don't understand the idea of making it its own song. And I also, I'm at the point where it's let's just get the record started. It's not frustrating. I don't care. I understand people want to create an ambiance and sort of introduce the listener to the mood of the record, but just I don't know. That's my grumpy old man ramble for the day. Not a big deal, but so there are 9 fully fleshed out tracks on this record, and the second track is sufficiently intense and aggressive that I don't really mind the intro as much as I otherwise would. The track it feels like not a B-side from The Satanist, but it feels like they had riffs lying around from when they were writing The Satanist that just didn't get used, and so they took those and sort of fleshed them out into fuller songs. And I think you can definitely hear that on a lot of tracks on this record. They have that style from The Satanist. And I also think there's a vocal delivery that Nurgle sort of figured out while recording The Satanist that he's using on this record. And so it sort of lends it that same quality too, which I really like. I think it's very theatrical and sort of, it has this, I don't know, oratorical quality to it. He's delivering a speech or sort of, I don't know, addressing a crowd of people. I don't know. It's really interesting, and it gives it this sort of lofty character that is missing from a lot of black metal. So, as I said, track 2 is this aggressive number. Track 3, again, I'm not going to do the whole track-by-track thing, but I think what's interesting to note is that track 4 of My Herculean Exile is a really interesting track, and I don't think it really has a parallel in Behemoth's discography. It's very, it's like a mid-tempo track, but on a black metal record, mid-tempo kind of just means slow. It's a slower track. In general, they have a lot of slower tracks on this record, which I think keeps it from being as engaging and fun throughout as it could be, because, when I sit down to listen to a black metal record, I'm kind of wanting and expecting speed. and that's fine if you don't want to do that, but that's just sort of my expectation for black metal. So the slower track is really interesting. You know, it's a good song, and it's very creative and unorthodox, definitely. But in general, I think the slower tracks detract from the record. You know, I just listened to it on the way up here, so I would say there's probably I would say there's probably like 4 slower songs on the record, and in a record of 10 songs, that's a lot. 2, you know, 1 or 2 probably would have been sufficient for my tastes, but you know, it's not about me. The record does have a good pace aside from that. And there's a lot of, you know, climactic moments on these songs that make you know, none of the songs are boring. So you're still getting something out of listening to the full record. And I especially love the last track, Versus Christus. It's a great album closer. It just feels like, you know, as I said earlier, it feels like a return to form for Behemoth. It's, you know, there's just this very irreverent band, very blasphemous, of course, but like Nurgle has found a way, you know, for all his flaws, he has found a way to make the blasphemous thing, in my opinion, interesting and, like, you know, intellectually engaging. He's a great writer. He clearly reads a lot of stuff and draws from a lot of the stuff that he reads in creating Behemoth's lyrics, and I think that really shows on this record too. So that's about it. I don't want to ramble on too long about this record. I think it's one of those records that speaks for itself. There's not too much to dissect. You know, I keep saying it's unorthodox and creative, and it is, but it's also just a metal record. So, you know, if you've heard their last 2 records, you have a general idea of what they sound like. If you have listened to this record, and I really mean this time, let me know what you thought of it, because I love it, but I know they're a polarizing band now. I know they're really divisive. So I'm very curious to hear other opinions on this record. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, you know. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm pretty close to 500 subscribers. I'd love to get there by the end of the year. You know, we'll see. But it would be awesome. I appreciate everyone who watches these videos. I really do love talking about these records and hearing, you know, feedback on like the areas I'm recording these and just the thoughts on the records in general. So it's cool to engage with people about these records. That's why I started doing this in the first place. So yeah, leave me a comment, like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.